Hey everyone, I'm just going to give a few minutes before we get started. If you have any questions, go ahead and turn on the Q&A app on the left panel and go ahead and ask a question, and we'll start with any of those. Otherwise, we'll just kind of go through the assignment and I'll give an overview. So I'll wait a couple more minutes while people come in. No questions yet. All right, so I'm just going to get started by going through the assignment just to give some more details and color around it. So Thursday, we are going to do presentations of the observation poster, very similar to the presentations we did last Thursday. The only difference is instead of having a full presentation or a PowerPoint deck, you're just going to have one slide or an image of your poster on the screen, and then you're just going to talk to it. So, the assignment is to observe observe an individual for 10 to 15 minutes, but do not interact with the stranger. The goal of this is to really develop some empathy for whomever you are observing that is going through your pain point. Part of really understanding your pain point is to draw upon other people's successes and failures by doing something rather than just drawing from your own insights. One question we get a lot is, does the person actually have to be a stranger? It's important to sort of distance yourself from the experiences of another individual. You want to draw some unique insights. So that's why we like the assignment to be focused around someone that you're not familiar with, that you haven't interacted with before. Some projects, some pain points can be pretty difficult to find a stranger to observe for this. A good example is like flat tires. It's really hard to find a complete stranger that has had a flat tire and then observe them changing the tire. So sometimes you need to simulate that. Maybe you find someone who you aren't familiar with and ask them to go through the process of changing a tire. One good way to do this is having a friend of a friend be your stranger, someone you don't know, but you're only 1 degree connection away. And then you're going to create the poster. A question we get a lot is, can this be a digital poster? There's something unique about finding magazine clippings and images online that you print out and really combining those on a physical medium that you don't get with doing it digitally. So for this assignment, it needs to be a physical poster with physical cutouts of the images that represent the different areas. Try and avoid doing this all in Photoshop. All right, so we got a question. Will the presentation for the observation assignment be after we finish the rest of the pain point presentations? We're probably just going to jump right into the observation assignment presentations. Really there's not enough time in the class to go through all the presentations, but every student is going to have a chance to present during the semester. It's just going to change what the presentation is. All right, so question, can the poster be made on Adobe? The answer is really no. We want you to do this on a physical medium. We think that you draw a lot more insights by, really interacting, with the different items physically on the poster rather than just doing this all in Photoshop or Illustrator. So do this on a physical poster. The only exception is if you find an image online, you can print that out and use that as part of your poster. All right, so Lindsay says, do we need to bring the poster to class or can we just present the picture? Yeah, you only need to present the photo or the picture of the poster that you're turning in on Basecamp. So my recommendation is to put that up on Basecamp, and then when you're presenting in class, we'll just pull that up on the projector, and then that will be your presentation. You don't actually need to bring the full poster in class. All right. So going back to the assignment, one of the questions we get is like, what's the difference between cause and context? Cause is really like the acute reason for what for the pain point. Again, the example of flat tires in cars, the nail or from construction, or maybe it's a sharp edge on a street somewhere that caused the flat tire. Those are like the acute cause, the direct cause of that pain point. Context is like environmental factors that contribute to either worsening or developing that cause. So for example, the flat tire analogy, Arizona has high temperatures in the summer. That certainly goes a long way to contributing to tires being weaker or overinflated, which can contribute to the cause of possibly a puncture. So think about all the different contextual factors that go into the pain point. Oh, here's a question. Are we being graded on in-class presentations, or are they just a way of getting the full experience? To make this fair, the grading's done on the deliverable, the presentation deliverable. So if you create a PowerPoint or Keynote or whatever, that's what we are grading off of. But again, part of this class is really about participation. And so you will be graded in terms of, giving an in-class presentation, which everyone will have a chance to do so just for different assignments. All right, in the directions, there's a section, number 1, that talks about observing the person. Are we supposed to write this out into an essay sort of thing, or just things that are supposed to go on our poster? The only thing you need to turn in is the poster, at least a photo of the poster. So you don't need to write an essay out of all your observations and turn that in. You just need to turn in the final deliverable. I highly recommend taking notes for this. It's really hard to really make an effective observation poster without having those notes together. All right. Next question is, can we use another pain point for the observation assignment, or do we have to use the topic we use in assignment number 1? This can be a different one if you have a better pain point or something you relate to more. We recommend that you keep the same pain point unless you have a reason for it, and so that's completely fine if you came across something that you think is better. Don't feel like you're necessarily tied to it. Maybe in the first assignment, you did some research and you realized, you know what, this isn't really going to be a good pain point. I want to go off and do something else. That's completely fine. All right, no more questions right now. All right, another section with this is really important is sort of capturing the unique characteristics of the person. Part of this class is understanding when you're developing a product, there's a theme that resonates really strongly with me, which is, in order to be great at something, sometimes you can't be good at a lot of things, or if you're good at a lot of things, then that means you're not great at anything. And I think that really rings true with product design, is when you try and do too much for too many people, you end up with a mediocre product that doesn't necessarily really solve any one person's needs really well. And so we're going to go into this process more in class about how you design a product that works really well for a small number of people and expand that out versus trying to do all things for all people. So by observing a stranger that's having this pain point and observing their characteristics, getting their background, their education, how they go about solving this pain point, how they're dressed, what they did that day, where they're going, how they talk. Those are all attributes that really help, that play into developing a persona for what's called a target customer. Essentially someone that you want as a customer, who's your ideal customer. And then you design and craft the product around them based on their circumstances, their demographics, background, and life views, world views. Really dictates how a product should be designed. When you start having too many different demographics or personas, that's when you sort of spread your product thin, and all of a sudden you realize that your product is not really great for anyone. So this is an important part where you not only observe the problem and possible solutions, but it's about really discovering who your target customer could be. All right, so question, my pain point would involve watching someone in an environment that I wouldn't be able to analyze a stranger. Do I have to choose a new pain point, or can I watch someone I know? So why don't you go ahead and post what your pain point is, and maybe we can dig into that a little. But some pain points are difficult to observe a complete stranger in. Couple tips. One is you can try and ask a friend of a friend, or ask a friend if they know someone that would be willing to participate in this. If it's something that you still can't involve a stranger with, try and find someone that maybe is more of an acquaintance than a friend. The goal is to find someone that you aren't very close to, that maybe is outside who your normal circle of friends would be, so you can get a different perspective on the pain point. And so presentations Thursday, again, same format. They're going to be up to 5 minutes, and then after you give your presentation, Ward and I in the class will ask some questions and challenge some assumptions about your pain point. All right, so this is a good one, the process of getting up in the morning. So we've had this come up a few times. One group did a really great project around the alarm clocks, and pain of just waking up to a noisy alarm clock. Obviously kind of a weird thing to do with a complete stranger. One thing you could do is, if you can simulate this with a friend, or, again, the goal is to get someone that, you don't know very well, that's different from your own experiences. So, if you're like a night owl and you sleep in, try and find someone who's an early riser and get their perspective, or vice versa. So that way you're getting a different worldview from your own experiences. So kind of think of like the first assignment as really drawing upon your own experiences, and then this assignment is about involving other people to get a different perspective. right, I'll wait a few more minutes, see if there's any other questions that come in. All right, so we got another question. How will PowerPoints be graded that contain mostly pictures? If we had memorized the content using only images as cues and hadn't gotten the chance to present, how will we be graded? So there's a reason that we don't really weight the presentations too much, and that's partly because we can't really give a very critical grade to the presentation. We essentially look at the content and the design, make sure it's designed well, and that there's at least enough cues to go off of. Again, we can't, have the opportunity for every presentation be given for each assignment, but really the grading is like, was there effort put into making this a well-designed presentation, and could this have been delivered well? Oh, good question. What size does a poster need to be? Normal size poster, which is, I'm not even sure how big that is, but let's see if it's stated in here. Just whatever the normal size poster is when you go into Target or something, they got the poster boards. I think it's, like a couple feet by 3 feet or something like that. We're not too strict on that, but the goal is to make it big enough where you're interacting with it and you can sort of post images on. It needs to be bigger than a piece of paper. Okay, Luke says, what if there's an unspoken pain in our subjects that we can't know by observing a stranger? If you post your pain point and exactly what it is, I'll be able to answer that better. Let's see, by unspoken pain in our subjects. So maybe this is something that's not easily communicated through just an observation. If that's the case, you can have the stranger sort of lead you through the pain point. Again, the goal is to really observe rather than listen. So maybe you let them sort of guide you through any points of which might be unclear by observing. But again, post your pain point, I'll kind of dig into it more with you. Okay, so wearing helmets. So I'm guessing the pain point with this is, the hassle of maybe carrying around the helmet, having to put it on, messing up your hair, all those sorts of things. So I think for this one's a little tough, but you can watch someone like, park their bike and, have to take their helmet off, watch their hair get messed up, see, what do they do? Do they attach it to their backpack or put it in their backpack, and do they carry it in class or whatnot? So I think there's a lot you can do here with observation. There might be some other aspects or nuances you want to glean from it, though, that are non, can only be communicated verbally, though. So it might be a mix in a case like this. Okay, so Lindsay's pain point is iPhone storage. So it's hard to tell if someone is complaining about that or really observe them getting mad about that. Yeah, this one's a difficult one too. So I'm guessing the pain point is really about your phone filling up and not really being able to use it. So what I would do, some of these may take more of a simulation, and that's okay for some circumstances. So, you know, if you can find someone that will let you sort of simulate like your iPhone getting filled up with photos or something, and then let them go through that experience of discovering, hey, my phone is filled with images, so I can't take any new pictures, or I can't save something, or all the other problems associated with your iPhone filling up. So you may have to sort of set up the circumstances and then observe them sort of reacting to that. This, again, may be one of those things where you have to find someone who's a little more familiar with you and you're a little more acquainted. But again, you know, finding someone that, you know, you're not just best friends with and see all the time and you guys have very similar worldviews, you want someone with as different worldview as possible. I'll wait to see if there's any more questions here. All right, if your idea is something that fixes someone else's pain point who is close to you personally, can you observe them? Again, the goal is to find someone that, you know, you aren't too acquainted with each other. So try and see if you can find someone else or find a stranger that would experience your pain point outside of a close friend. But if for some reason, and it depends on the pain point, that's not feasible, it's okay to find someone that you're acquainted with, but again, it's just about finding someone that has different worldviews and would experience that pain point in a different way than you do. All right, the question is, will every Tuesday class be online? Only up until teams are formed, which is in a few weeks. Once teams are formed, Tuesday will be reserved for team meetings. And so what this means is you don't have to meet during the Tuesday class for your team meetings if there's a better time that works for everyone. But since teams are kind of big, there's 6 people, we want to make sure that there is at least an hour or so of time every week that the team can meet. And so we've set aside Tuesdays as being that time. So that way, you know, if there's a scheduling problem and you can't find a time that works during the week, you can at least say, Tuesday's reserved, we know you have the time available, so let's meet during that time. All right, here's one. Will we later need to come up with a physical prototype of our solution product? Yes. Once you are in teams is when you're going to start coming up with prototypes of your products and iterating on those prototypes. So depending on the idea, if it's like a digital product, like an app, you know, the prototype is not going to be a, you know, physical product. It's likely going to involve a lot of mock-ups and designs. But if your idea is for a physical product, then yes, you're going to be coming up with prototypes for that. All right, wait a few more minutes, see if there's any more questions. All right, so here's a question. Will we vote on pains to be put in the team? Yes. So we're going to vote on the top pain points to come up with what the team ideas will be. And there's a reason we do pain points and not solutions or ideas, because the pain points really shouldn't change within the team within the semester, but this solution or idea could change, and that's normal. So you're going to vote. We're going to vote on the pain points. Those will be put up on the board, and to form teams, you're just going to walk up and take a slot, fill your name in on the board, and that's how you'll join a team. All right, here's a question. If we can use images from the internet and just present the digital image of the poster, why does using computer-aided tool to put together posters not allowed? Concerned about printing cost. Fair point. There's just something about being able to interact with physical objects that you don't get with just using a digital tool. It allows you to have a lot more flexibility that you don't necessarily have when you're working with Photoshop or Illustrator. And we find you get a lot more creative when you're literally just taking physical stuff, using your hands to move some images around. So there's actually this good research study that found when people are using their hands, their creativity goes up. So, you know, sometimes during meetings, I've been in meetings at least where we just have little canisters of Play-Doh. And it's like if you like need to just, if you're having like a wall or something, you need to think through something. Sometimes just playing with something like Play-Doh can really just increase your creativity. So long story short, we just find it just helps with creativity, and you just get a lot more out of it when you're working with something physical. And you'll find that's a theme with other projects and assignments too. One of the projects in class is going to be creating a physical prototype of a wallet. And so just by going through that process of literally making it out of construction paper and other materials, you get a lot out of it other than just sketching something out or doing it in Photoshop. All right, so no questions. All right, no more questions, so I'm just going to end this early. But if anything comes up, just shoot Ward and I an email, and we'll get right back to you. See you Wednesday.